guys, Hydro Pump here. Today I got a deck profile and video for you guys. It is from the Edison tournament that happened. It was a Peak of the Beak, or I think that's the name of the tournament. Something with Beak, and pretty much it was a 79-person Swiss style tournament or format, and I was able to get top four with pure Blackwings. Uh, there's been another build of Blackwings that's been popular for past several months that features like it's pretty much like all aggro. It's pretty much a mesh between Vayu Turbo and regular Blackwings, whereas before they were kind of like their own separate things. And that one plays like No Limit Extermination and things like that. But I decided to go with pure Blackwings for this tournament. I kind of, if I recall, I just kind of like last minute entered. I was like, oh, this should be fun. I think I got time to play, and it was over multiple days, so it wasn't just like one day. It was like each round lasts for 20 or 48 hours. So you have pretty much 2 days to play against your opponent. Um, I guess we'll talk about the format of the tournament real quick. Swiss was pretty fun. Normally these tournaments are like for the rivets are like double elimination. Uh, so doing a Swiss tournament was fun, just because you didn't really know your opponent, who you're going to be playing the next round. So it was always kind of cool to look forward to. But in the end, I mean, we played top eight, and I was able to make top cut. I went 7-1 in Swiss, so I was like kind of guaranteed in. I was number three on the seeding. But there ended up being two X2 players that didn't make it in. So that's where Swiss kind of stinks. You're just hoping your tiebreakers are good enough throughout the tournament, and sometimes it works out for you, sometimes it doesn't. So other than that, the tournament was really fun. I managed to get top four, like I said, with this deck, and I'll just go through and talk about the decisions and things like that. Again, I kind of just joined last minute, and so yeah, let's jump right into it. So pretty self-explanatory. We got 3 Blizzard here. A lot of people will dance between 2 or 3. Most builds play 3. Blizzard's just like a really good power card. You throw like a Bora or a Shura out there as your good starter monsters, and then you just follow up with Blizzard, which is just like really strong and can end a lot of games. It like gains you. It's the easiest way to get into the extra deck, and your extra deck's just generally pretty strong. There's a lot of utility there. So if you're cutting down the 2 Blizzard, because maybe you're drawing too many Blizzards, too many small Blackwing monsters, I can kind of understand from that point of view, but then you're also cutting out a lot of access to your extra deck. So, yeah, 3 Blizzards is really strong. The guy that usually gets bullied around for Blackwing is Bora the Spear. Some people cut him down to 2, same reason, like they don't want to draw multiples or see him too much. They want to search for a Black Whirlwind, ideally. But Bora is just really good. The Pierce effect is really underrated. I won a couple games with that throughout the tournament, where it's just like you could just pump Bora up with Sirocco and just get some massive damage. I did 5,000 damage once in a Pierce, so I made like a massive Bora and just one right there. It's a level 4, so it works really well with Blizzard. And yeah, and you can just spam the field with Bora, so it can just kind of help kill your opponent out of nowhere. So that's always nice to have. And it's just another name. We have the 1 Gale. Gale is limited, so you can only play 1. Card's pretty insane. Not too much to talk about for Gale otherwise. 3 Clute, pretty staple. 3 Shura, staple. And 3 Sirocco. Card's just pretty much crazy in a Blackwing or Vayu meta. I felt like I outplayed a lot of opponents with this card throughout the tournament, just because I bait them to summon their Sirocco first, or bring in their Armed Wing out, and then I drop Sirocco into like a pretty clutch situation, and usually ends up being game because you can pump their Blackwing monsters as well. So if you didn't know that, he can get up to like pretty massive. So like my opponent, for instance, I think they had some play where they had like their own Bora, or they took my Bora with Goyo, and they had an armed wing, and I pretty much wiped their back row, and then Sirocco, summoned Bora, pump, made my Bora massive, and just ran over their defense with Blackwing monsters. So it was pretty crazy. And so that's Sirocco. And we got one Vayu. We only play one. Most pure Blackwing decks only play one. There's that other build that plays like three. It's kind of like Vayu Turbo, like I said, that plays like Dark Grappers and stuff. But that's electing to play one here. Never really want to draw this card, especially if you're not playing Dark Grapper. Never want to draw this. It's just a good search card to have access to if you have like Whirlwind and Blizzard. You can get the Vayu. And if you crack over something with Shura, you can get Vayu and maybe go into a synchro play. But it's good utility to have in the grave with Sirocco in the grave as well. So I still like playing one. It sucks to draw, but you know, we're only playing the one, so it's not that horrendous. And we got Darkon Dragon, pretty powerful card. I never like dead drawed it where I had like too many Blackwings in the grave. I didn't like draw it like insane amount of times either, but you know, cards is really strong. It's a blowout most of the time, and it performed pretty well for me in the tournament. On the spells, we got Lure. I think this is probably pretty stable. I remember because I played Blackwing last year for a decent amount, and I cut Allure just because I was like, man, I feel bad about luring away any of my monsters, but like it's pretty good in the hands where you have like Vayu or too many Blizzards. Like if you have a lot of multiples, it lets you fix your hand a little bit more. But ideally, you want to have like you know, your Blackwing monsters online. But yeah, it's just nice to fix your hands. So I like that part of it, and it helps dig for your power cards. We got 2 Whirlwind, which is you know, it's at 2, so yeah, you gotta play 2. And this is a controversial card probably. I elected to play 3 Book of Moon. I'll get into this a little bit more in a second, but 3 book. I feel like going into the tournament, the cards like this, it's a solid card. It's never like outrageous or insane, unless you're playing as like Glad Beast and they goes Test Tiger and you book a moon their GB. It's not like that insane most of the time, but it's just a good card to keep you in the game, keep you alive, and that's what I liked about it. It was pretty flexible, just because you can drop it from your hand. You can top deck it, and it could be doing something. It's not like a trap where it's like, oh, I drew a trap, it's dead, and then So the flexibility of the card is really nice. You brain control your Blackwing monster. You can book a moon it, stay in the game. So this card was actually pretty nice throughout the tournament. There was a few instances where I drew too many because obviously I play 3. So I would maybe suggest playing like no more than 2 in a future build. But yeah, card's pretty solid overall. We have brain control. Some people say not to play this, which I don't know. Brain control is brain control. I used to like even potentially, like if I'm going first, I really don't want to open brain control, just because you're not really gonna get it off. You just want to open as strong as possible, so like you're gonna be waiting around to activate brain control. But like I don't know, the card's just like too insane to like cut from your list or even side it out. I think that I learned. So I think keeping brain control in, because you got synchro plays. I mean, you got a bunch of tuners and such. So just taking your opponent's monsters, it can be like backbreaking a lot of times because they can have like a Goyo on the field. That's a free 28 swing, and then you can sync it up with Blizzard and whatnot. So card is pretty crazy. You got Heavy Storm. We play a good amount of traps, but you still want to like Heavy Storm your opponent, and then we go for a big push there. So And we got MST, pretty staple, I think. This wiping back row, pretty good. Now we have three-dimensional prison. This was just pretty much for like a heavy Blackwing meta, and you would think like the mentality probably is like, okay, why would Blackwings play dimensional prison? You already got a bunch of big monsters. You got Kalut to protect them. Why do you need deep prison? It was just a really good card for the edge in the mirror, or like recently the Diva hero, like it's pretty much like hero beat with Divas splashed in. That deck's been really popular recently, so Deep Prison's really good against all those matchups like Vayu, Blackwing, and the hero beat deck. So it's really good against those and keeps you in the game. Kind of like Book of Moon, just keeps you in the game. Removes the monsters, so it's just like insane most of the time. They don't have a way to answer it. And it protects your monsters because you always want to have the Blackwing on field. So, say you summon Shura. Your opponent goes summon Sirocco. They pump and swing over. Clue doesn't do anything in that situation because unless you have two, which you're just going to. It's not great that you're not going to have two Kalutes most of the time. So it's optimal to deprison, and against Vayu, that's going to be backbreaking. If you deprison their Sirocco. But also, like, you can have Icarus attack set, so then they can't commit to back row either. So from right off the start, they're just going to be really behind if you deprison, like, Sirocco, for instance. So I felt like that card was just really important. It was pretty good for the most part. The battle phase is pretty important in Edison format. So again, it's kind of similar to Book of Moon, just kept you in the game. So I really enjoyed the card. I made deck 2 Dust Tornado. Dust was solid. It's a chainable back row, so they try to snipe something, they go right, go pop, you just Dust Tornado the back row. That's a pretty good trade-off. It's good. I feel like with Blackwings, you have to land your normal summons. You don't want to be running into like Book of Moon, Bottomless, and any other forms of interruption. So you need to clear the back row so you can land your summons. The deck's really frustrating when you're just relying on, you have a lot of normal summons, so like you're trying normal summon to get your whirlwind going, and then you can't because you're just running a constant Bottomless, Trap Hole, or Solemn. Like Solemn on a normal summon is really annoying too. So yeah, Dust Tornado is just the hedge against the back row, and it's good against the mirror for like whirlwind and such. And it came in pretty clutch one time because I was holding like whirlwind, Sirocco, and my opponent just like set one back row. I Dust Tornado the back row and just like popped off the next turn. So Dust Tornado is a pretty solid card, and it's been seeing a lot more play recently. So it was kind of funny because like I think earlier this year or some point in like the retro Edison format, like no one played Dust Tornado, and the past couple months it's been seeing a lot more play. So it's definitely a really cool card. It's also nice against like a Heavy Storm potentially because like you don't have to commit all your back row. You can Dust Tornado something, set Icarus attack, and like so you're not like committing to sending Dust Tornado and Icarus attack. So it has a couple cool situations with the card. So yeah, I enjoyed it. 3 Icarus attack. Card is just pretty crazy. Your opponent has to respect it at all times, pretty much. Tributing can be rough sometimes, but like whenever you're like resolving this card and actually getting like, if you resolve and get a +1, like a real +1 off it, it's just you pretty much just win the game most likely. You do have to be smart with it, but like the card is kind of crazy. Kind of like what pushes Blackwings over the edge of being like an insane deck. I used to not like it as much because like I don't know, I felt like it was a bit win more in some situations. Like you have to have like things going. You have to treat a Blackwing monster, but if you put yourself in the right position, like You can Shura beat over something and then like have Vayu off the Shura, then you can Icarus attack them. So as long as you're like making sure you're getting like the value out of the situation, like Icarus attack's really good. So yeah, that's that card. Mirror Force. Um, Mirror Force is still Mirror Force. Like your opponent has to respect it, and having your decks is gonna force them to respect it. Um, Otherwise, they're gonna slap two monsters on the field, and Deep Prison can only stop one of them. So it's good to have a mix of Deep Prison and Mirror Force. And then we got Solemn Judgment here, staple. I elected to play 2 Starlight Road, and this is like a hedge against like the mirror, and me just wanting to be like, I'm just gonna slap my back row down, and I'm not gonna like, you can run into my Starlight Road, and also lets you like play pretty aggressively, to where it's like you can do Sirocco, summon Bora, pump. Well, you don't really have to pump. You can just attack, and then like, if they have Mirror Force the Torrential, you have the answer there. Otherwise, you just be like, playing, dancing around those cards all game long. So Starlight Road is pretty good. It was good in most situations where I saw it, and some situations where it's like didn't do anything. It was a couple times where it was like, I set 2 back row, my opponent heavy storms, and then I top deck Starlight Road, and I'm like, well, that's annoying, because now they resolve their heavy storm, and then my Starlight Road doesn't do anything off the top. So maybe just cut it down to 1 in the future. There's some things I want to fit in the main as well. So this is some things to consider. Trap Dust Shoot, card's pretty broken. If you're not playing your deck, I suggest so. This pretty crazy card. Now, some things that's I didn't quite. So again, I said I entered the tournament pretty much last minute, and well, before this, on the Format Library Discord, they have like these little Edison locals they do like towards the end of the week, and this was before Ribbit Rulers. So I was like, I'll just play Blackwing. I ended up playing Dragon Turbo in the Ribbit Rulers, but I played Blackwing in the little local. And I played a list similar to this, and I showed it in my team Discord, the Ring of Destruction team. And I won that. It was like a little 8-person thing. And then Cameron Saunders pointed out that Bottomless Trap Hole was not my list. I was like, oh my god, I played without Bottomless Trap Hole. That's pretty crazy. Anyways, fast forward to this tournament, me entering. I took the same list without like looking at it really, and I entered without Bottomless Trap Hole once again in the tournament. Obviously, I made top 4, so it wasn't like super backbreaking. We have 3 Book of Moon and 3 Prison in the main deck to like help deal with that a little bit. But there was definitely a couple times where I missed Bottomless in like a situation against like a Mirror or against Fade Turbo, where it definitely would have helped out a little bit. But so I might fit Bottomless in the main or the side, but it should probably go somewhere in the list just to have like more removal. But yeah, that's that. But yeah, so that's the main deck. Then the side deck's gonna look a little weird too, probably because I had like, I'll go over it. 2 Sour Dragon. It's a pretty good side deck card. Just having a good extra beater to like bait something. Pretty solid. It didn't really do anything too crazy this tournament. No machine matchups or anything. 3 Dyna. This is more like a hedge against like Frog Monarchs or just like any Frog deck, because Dyna's just insane against those decks. I think I played against one Frog deck. It was Sunny. He spawned like the Frog Hero, and I drew it once. Well, I drew it in the game 2 where it didn't matter because I like pretty much lost. But I drew it like game 3, and it was pretty solid there because it prevented him from Miracle Fusion. So it did something. Outside of that, I don't think I really decided because I played against a lot of Blackwings and Vayu Turbo matchups. But probably cutting into 2 would be more ideal in the future, just to fit a little more stuff in that side deck. Probably the MVP of the side deck was Snowman Eater. I sided 3 because again I wasn't really about dealing with that hero beat diva deck because I had a bad run against that deck in the past. It was more like a hero beat deck when I played Blackwing last year, where the guy just had like infinite stops and like he would be like I was normal like I had like 5 normal summons in my hand. I was like, and he stopped all of them. I would have Whirlwind and he stopped my summon like 4 times. He would like Spark, Hero Blast, Book of Moon, Bonus Trap Hole, regular Trap Hole. I was like, bro. Anyways, Snow Meteor just pretty much craps on that deck because Alias can't beat over it, and they can't Gemini Spark when they Alias attacks into it. So this card is really good against that deck. And it's pretty solid against Amir too. Just, they summon Shura, they crash into a Snow Eater. Pretty bad for them. So it was a solid card overall, the whole tournament. And it was probably the best side deck card I had. So again, maybe cut it to 2. Siding 3 can be a little bit a lot because you don't want to side out too many of your monsters. So, and then you would have too many monsters in the main deck. So kind of iffy there, but probably want to go with 2. But the card was definitely nice. 2 Light Imprisoning Mirror. Didn't playing anything like Fairies or Lightsworn. So card didn't really come up. Really. So maybe, I mean, you really want to stop those decks, but maybe I can find something that like makes my side deck a little bit more well-rounded against all matchups. So maybe there's like another option there. And then we have 3 Rug here against Frogs. That deck's on average pretty annoying for Blackwing, so it's because like you're not really getting too much value out of Icarus attack. They're just kind of plucking you off with their tribute summons, like banish your monster with a Monarch. So Dinah and Rug definitely help stop that deck. I rugged a Caius against Sunny, who was on Frog Monarch, so pretty good there. I don't know if 3 is overkill, maybe just 2, but then it's one of those things you want to see the card because it's pretty good. Probably wanted to do Massacre Restrict just because it's a continuous trap and removals is kind of crazy in this format. If I get Key Break, Dust Tornado, the Frog deck sides all that stuff in. So when you're side decking, you have to kind of consider like, what is your opponent going to? What's your opponent's side plan? They're playing against Blackwings. They're going to side in all this back room removal. And pretty much anything that stops floodgates. So, just have to kind of keep that in mind when you're doing the sideboards. And probably a questionable choice is siding Royal Oppression. Blackwing lists have been doing this more often just because, it's not too great in the mirror. But you want to have this card against the other decks. It's a pretty good card. It's like a very powerful card, and it's good against like a lot of matchups here and there. But I was more so worried about like the mirror, Vayu Turbo, and the Diva Hero or Diva Hero beat deck, which this card is pretty terrible against all 3. Anything else I think I could deal with turn or game 1. But then again, it's kind of awkward to side this card in, just because like your opponent's gonna be prepared for back row, post side. Like say they're playing, quick draw, they're gonna bring in stuff to hate back row against Blackwings, because they lose to deck dev, oppression, and so on. So you kind of want to bring this card in, but then you're kind of playing it to your opponent's hand. But then you look on the flip side, oppression's like really strong, and if they don't have the out, then they lose most likely. So it goes hand in hand. But like more recently, this card hasn't been too favored for me, anyways. I think I sided it a couple times, but I think there might be better cards to side. Not sure. Still iffy on oppression, but again, it's still a really strong card. I just didn't really feel like main decking it for this particular tournament. I'll just glance over the extra deck. Chimera Tech because we got Cyber Dragon. I think I used Chimera Tech twice. I sucked up an opponent's Cyber Dragon, and then I make a Taster to suck up their Cyber Dragon again. Don't think I won any of those, either of those situations, but it came up. So Black Rose, I think I made it maybe once. Nuke a couple cards. Silverwind, never made it. Armed Wing might have come up once or twice. Probably most likely off of Vayu and Sirocco. Armor Master, I made it one time I think, but I got Brio balanced in the mirror, so that was kind of annoying. Brio, I think I made it once for. It helped me win against the mirror one game, because I was able to spin his Armor Master and something else. So kind of the same thing that happened in my Armor Master. Colossal, I don't think I made it. Maybe one time, but yeah. Dark End, it was actually really clutch against Sunny because he set up dupe block. I set up an OTK board and then removed one of the dupes for Dark End and then just killed him that turn. So yeah, it was really nice. And there was another, I think I OTK'd a Blackwing mirror in a turn one. So he went first. He went double whirlwind Shura, pass, and then I just had like a very convenient hand of like Sirocco, Bora, Gale, Kalut. So I summoned Sirocco, special Bora, special Gale. I pumped everything onto Bora, and I synchroed Gale, Sirocco for Dark End. Dark End removed Shura, and then Bora just swings for a lot, and then adding Clue on top of that was game. So that was pretty crazy. And he had no back row to protect this situation, so like pretty much game. Goyo came up a couple times. Really good card. It's pretty insane that a level 6 synchro is 2800 attack. Just kind of outrageous. And then you take your opponent's monster on top of that. So really good card. Android, I think I made it one time. Made it when I was low on life. I see some people don't extra deck Mistworm and Blackwings, but I think the card's good enough to justify, because you can be in a situation where you just need to get that little chip damage or something going, and having a level 9 synchro just can get you there. That spins 3 cards. So now your opponent can just have like, say you're playing as zombies. They have no back row. They have Stardust, Brionica, and Colossal Fighter on the field. How else are you outing that field other than Black Rose? And then you can attack on top of that. So like all you need is a Blizzard and a Gale. Or not Gale. You need Blizzard. Well, you need, because you need Blizzard. You need Blizzard and Bora, because you can go like Blizzard, get Kalut, special on Bora. There's your 9. So yeah, card's pretty crazy. And I used 2 Stardust Dragons just because I made deck 2 Starlight Road. So I think it came up one time where I made 2. So I figured it was worth using. So yeah, that's the deck profile. I plan on making a video. This one a little bit longer than I was expecting. Just kind of want to go full in depth. Again, I was more so just playing this, play a different deck. Normally I'm the Dragon Turbo guy. But people say like Blackwings is a boring deck, but I thoroughly enjoyed the tournament. Playing against the mirrors is pretty fun. And people say like this deck's like, boring, is pretty simple. But like, this pretty much goes across the board with all the Edison decks. All the decks are pretty simple to understand and play, but to master a deck, it's really hard. So yeah, take that as you will. And I think this build is probably like pure Blackwing is better than the newer build that's been going around with like the Vayu Turbo / Blackwing deck, the Swedish Blackwing, whatever. I think pure still, people like kind of moved on from pure, but I think pure still has its place, because like you're just able to stay in the game a little bit longer against like those rush down Blackwing decks where they just try to like beat you down really quick. It's good against the other matchups, but again, like they're playing as me, like I don't think their decks are built to last um, multiple turns, whereas mine is. So it can go hand in hand. Like they can remove all my back row and OTK me, but I can also uh, withstand that and then just like gain advantage as well. So this kind of depends on how you look at it, but I kind of prefer this build more. I think it works a little bit better across the field as well. I think so. Going back to the origins a little bit for this list. Anyways, thanks everyone for watching this deck profile. I plan on doing a video going over the tournament run, things I could improve on in the future, because there was definitely a couple of mistakes I made. So it's always nice to learn from your mistakes and watch your replays. Those are things I suggest you to do. Otherwise, you're just going to keep on making the same mistakes. So, anyways, I will catch you guys later. Peace.